In order to achieve that goal, the first step was raising his defenses. Second was finding a recovery method. Third was being faster than anybody else. Fourth was a strength that does not hurt him but can kill others. Of course, the most important thing was to avoid the battlefield or anywhere where there may be bloodshed. Kale thought about these so-called plans of his as he slowly closed his eyes with satisfaction. He was thinking about it even as he fell asleep. At least, I will not be beaten up even when the time comes for it in the novel. The indestructible shield. Kale was thinking about this first shapeless strength he was going to get as he fell asleep. The corners of his lips that had gone up did not seem like they would ever come down. Fateful encounters did not have an owner. It was a first-come first-served type of deal. The important day. What did he need to do in order to calm his nerves and be successful? Kale thought the first step was to have a hearty breakfast. He felt like the only thing he did after coming to this world was eating, but he was going to enjoy the meal since he will be busy for a while starting tomorrow. Ahem. I heard you fell asleep in the study last night. It somehow ended up that way. He casually answered his father's question and continued to focus on the food. The fact that he did not even look at his father probably seemed rude, but it was fine since he was known for being the trash. Kale finished eating first and stood up. The screeching noise of the chair made everyone focus on him. I will head out first. It was not proper etiquette, but Kale's father Ruth just seemed to like his son no matter what. He looked back and forth at Kale and the empty plates before starting to smile. Sure. Go ahead. Thank you. Kale needed to quickly leave because he had a lot of things to do today. But Ruth held him back for a second. You don't need any allowance today? I do need some. This really was a family with a lot of money. Kale held back his smile after hearing that his father will send him the allowance through Hans and left without even saying thank you. He did make eye contact with his brother, Basin, for a moment, but Kale just ignored it and headed toward the dining room door. He saw that Ron was following him and shooed him away. Ron. I'm going out. Don't look for me. Don't look for me. That was Kale's code for letting Ron know that he was leaving the estate that was located near the rear of the city to go drinking. Whenever he did this, Ron just smiled and told him to have a safe trip. Will you not go to the study today? But for some reason, Ron asked a rare question today. Kale started to frown. Ron, I don't think that is something you need to be curious about. I understand, young master. I will be waiting for you. Kale's forehead started to show even more wrinkles after hearing that Ron will be waiting for him. Don't wait for me. Kale flicked his finger to beckon one of the servants standing at the entrance of the residence over and walked out with him. Kale still seemed angry, so that servant did not say anything as he followed behind Kale. Once he exited the residence, he could see the garden and the gate of the exit farther away. It was only then that Kale let out a sigh and peeked backwards. He could see Ron's stiff expression through the closing door. I'm glad I was able to shake him off. He was glad that Ron did not follow him. However, Kale was afraid of that stiff expression. He was an assassin after all. Kale decided that he will treat Ron better and not make him angry, starting the next interaction as he exited the estate. Of course, he was on a carriage. He arrived at his destination a little bit later. Young master. Is this the right place? The driver cautiously asked as he opened the door. He then peeked toward the shop in front of him. The driver's face was clearly filled with confusion. Yes. This is it. Kale, who was wearing clothes that would be fancy to others but was the simplest thing in his closet, walked out of the carriage. Nobody was around them, as they had moved away as soon as they saw the carriage with the Count's crest on it. The fragrance of tea with poetry. It was a tea shop that allowed you to read poems while drinking tea. This clean 3-story building looked to be pretty expensive. It was true that the owner of the shop was very wealthy. In fact, as the bastard son of a concubine of a large merchant guild, he was even wealthier than Kale. The only thing was that he was living here while hiding that identity. If I recall correctly, the owner goes to the capital around Volume 3 to meet Choi Han there. It is there that he claims that he may be a bastard son of a concubine of the Merchant Guild, but that he will become the owner of the Merchant Guild. The man who shouts and swears to Choi Han that he will become the owner of the Merchant Guild. Kale only read the first 5 volumes, and thus did not know if the man ever ended up becoming the owner of that Merchant Guild, but since he was one of the main character's partners, he probably will succeed. Kale looked toward the driver who was sweating like a hog and gave an order. You can leave now. Excuse me? Are you going to make me say the same thing twice? No, do I not need to wait for you, young master? Kale casually answered as he opened the door to the tea shop. Yeah. I'll be here for a while. Gulp. He could hear the driver's gulp behind him, but a much clearer and pleasurable noise filled Kale's ears. Clang. A quiet but clear bell sound announced Kale's entrance into the tea shop. Kale stood at the entrance and looked around the tea shop. It was still early, and there were not many people there. Kale could see that all of them were shocked to see him there. Well, the novel did say there was nobody in this region who did not know about Kale. He was public enemy number 1 for the merchants, because he had a tendency to break everything in their shops. Welcome. However, the owner of this shop warmly welcomed Kale in. Kale looked toward the baby pig-like man who welcomed him in from the counter. He must be the owner. The wealthy bastard, Billows. His round face and full body definitely looked like a baby pig like the novel described. His charm was his extremely bright smile. He looks like a piggy bank. Kale took out a gold coin and put it on the counter as he ordered. I plan on staying on the 3rd floor all day today. Billows stared at Kale with a smile on his face. Kale pretended not to notice as he pointed to the bookshelf. Any tea that is not bitter. Do you have novels here too, or just poems? Clang. The sound of someone putting their teacup down rang through the shop. Kale just thought of it as someone putting the teacup down hard and looked toward Billows. He preferred novels to poems. Of course. We have a lot of novels as well, young Master Kale. Really? Then send up the most interesting book and a cup of tea. Yes. I understand. Kale's gold coin fell onto Billows's chubby hands. Kale turned away as Billows tried to give him change. I'll drink more tea later, so just keep it. But it is still too much, young master. A gold coin was worth 1 million gallon. Having that coin, that was worth 1 million Korean won, Kale did something that he had always wanted to try. I have a lot of money. Consider it as your tip. Talking about how rich you are. Who cares if Billows actually has more money than he does? He also knew about many fateful encounters that will earn him a lot of money. Kale tried to look cool as he pointed toward the tables on the 1st floor with his chin. Well, if it is too much, you can treat everyone here to a cup of tea on me. Golden Bell. He wanted to do something like this once. After he told his father that he needed allowance, he received 3 gold coins, which were worth a total of 3 million gallon. Young master, still. Ah, enough. Just bring my tea. It really was good to be the trash. Kale did not care about being respectful as he headed up to the 3rd floor. He could hear whispers coming from behind him, but he did not need to care because there were already enough rumors about him, the trash of the Count's family, just like I thought. There was nobody else on the 3rd floor right now, because it was early in the morning. Kale took a seat in the innermost corner of the 3rd floor. He then looked out the window. This is the right spot. The spot where you could best see the northern gate of Western City. Kale planned to watch Choi Han from this location today.